The initial format in which competency-based curriculum was developed was in accordance with learning outcomes, performance criteria and assessment criteria, and these were developed to standardised learning materials. What you can see when you look at that is it's written in very educational terms. It's written as a teaching document, and there was a standard model for developing those sort of modules. What that model successfully did was it shifted the focus of curriculum from input to output, because what the learning outcome statements did was say what the learner would be able to do as a result of their learning. In 1996, the Howard government said we're no longer having modularised curriculum, we're going to implement this idea of training packages. And the notion of training packages is that there was endorsed and non-endorsed components. And there are three components to training packages which are regulated. They're endorsed by an official body. They are the national competency standards, which are developed by industry, the assessment guidelines which tell you how the national competency standards are meant to be assessed, and a list of qualifications that can be achieved through the completion of the competency. There was also a set of documents which they called non-endorsed. What that meant was they didn't have to go through a formal accreditation process. These were the ideas of learning strategies, assessment materials and professional development materials. So if I go back to the previous model, and then we have a look at training packages, what is it that is critical in the transition from curriculum to training packages? What training packages did, in terms of accredited training documents, have shifted the focus away from teaching to industry outcomes. So now what's important is the industry standards and how they're going to be assessed. Everything else is optional. What sort of learning strategies you're going to use, what sort of assessment materials you're going to use. So what it did was it shifted the language of vocational education from something of educational in focus to a language which is industry based. These are extracts from training packages. There's a unit of competency, then that's broken down into elements of competence which are the subunits, and then each element is then broken down into performance criteria, and then there are what are called range statements which describe the range of circumstances in which you should be able to perform the task, and that might include the sort of situations, the sort of equipment and so on and so forth. And then there's also some descriptions of evidence guides which tell you what evidence needs to be provided of completion of the unit of competence. The bonus of that is that it means that training packages are easy to implement. If you're doing skills recognition, then what you want to be able to assess people against is the performance, the competence. And what these documents, the training packages, is they directly link competency standards with assessment.